And thank you, Herman. And the next person we'll introduce is Pastor Deb.
Thank you, Jamie. And we approach silos over here on the north side a little bit differently because we found out that our super neighborhood territory had 4 zip codes and 60,000 people. And faced with reactivating it after 20 years, it's like going from the no lane to the fast lane. It wasn't going to happen very quickly. To catch up and to familiarize ourselves, we set up a 5 year study. We did a study group 1 year. The second group we did was a working group and then an action group. And the study group looked at the Super Neighborhood Program because it's the city's promise of equity throughout the grassroots. It's the city's commitment to have a voice at the table for every corner of the city. And we found out that there was 88 of them, and 37 like us were defunct. And out of the remaining 51, about half of the people were active. And we decided to find out how that it affected the marginalized communities, not just ours, but the fact that 24 well-heeled, well-informed Houston citizens, mostly still there today, have all this knowledge and power, and we found it to be very siloed. We also did some work on silos, and what we found out was, like we heard just recently, I think from Daniella, that silos can be an asset for maintaining. I think Dr. Sullivan, I'm sorry, that was your quote. Silos can be an asset to maintain neighborhood focus on goals requiring subject matter expertise and managing one task or project at a time. The poor communication between the different neighborhoods we felt was reflecting poor management of silos, not the fact they existed. So instead of dismantling them, we thought it would be best to look into how to bridge them. And so connecting silos meant establishing effective ways for silos to communicate with one another and share information. The result was a shift from the me mine mentality to the us our mindset. And so the silo mentality that negatively impacts stakeholder engagement and creates a barrier to collaboration. We found that we don't want to get into duplicating efforts because it contributed to unnecessary and unnatural competition between particularly poor groups that otherwise should share common goals. And so we certainly wanted to work in the silos as they create unnatural competition and reduce trust. And we know they cause bottlenecks in process and progress that we know that the organizations that are working above us don't want. So breaking down or connecting them has improved our stakeholder management, our mapping, and data is what can democratize the information made available to all by allowing individual groups to configure systems with specific views and dashboards. Groups competing against each other to gain and keep updated information stop collaborating against functional boundaries, losing out on benefits of cross functional collaboration. So, from an ethics and compliance perspective for a nonprofit, silos do create a risk, but they can be addressed, like I said, by building the trust, creating a unified vision for all neighborhoods, meaning everyone working for individual gain is also working for the shared purpose. And so that's the message we're taking to the Department of Neighborhood Friday when we meet Herbert Sims. I'll have you know that they took Northline and coordinated us with Kingwood and Lake Houston. So we're working to get that straightened out because you can't do people numerically. We have to be coordinated with neighborhoods that can get things done. So thank you for hearing that on silos. I believe that some of the information on silos might be misunderstood, maybe outdated, especially post COVID when we're hybrid and we're pushing hard for hybrid and to continue virtual and mostly hybrid spaces. We thank Jamie for being a big champion, this whole coalition here, for being our biggest champion for equitable engagement. Thank you, Jamie.
Well, thank you so much. So in the interest of time, it sounds like people have kind of addressed a lot of the questions. So I think I would like to open it up, and if people want to ask the guests anything, bring something into the conversation, I just ask that you um just keep in mind that there are other people that may want to ask questions. And do I see any hands? Helen had her hand up. Helen, how about you first? And then Dr. Tatum.
I just want to make a quick comment about the silo issues, continuing the discussion, and I noticed that the silo not only exists in the environmental space, but also in all of the nonprofits, because sometimes when you have a big foundation, right, giving out money, then people want to sort of compete or apply for those fundings, right? And then sometimes we have this sense of, if I get the money, you're not going to get money, that kind of thing. That's one thing about competition for funding. Number two is about different areas of work. So I actually worked with not only just the environmental field, but mental health, health and healing, and gun violence, Asian American community. So many of those sections, they call it nowadays called intersectional problem. Environmental issues are actually really good because it's like a big umbrella connecting all of these issues. But I hope people eventually will understand all of this will trace back to some of the root cause of the issues. I personally work in holistic health. And so in holistic medicine, we always want to encourage people to really trace the root cause of the problem. It's like when you have this root that's rotten and having problems, then you can have all of these branches coming out that all look sick. They may look as individual problematic branches, but they are all actually connected to one. So I always want to encourage everyone to think about what is the root cause of all of this seemingly isolated issues, from environmental problems to gun violence to mental health, social injustice, equity, whatever it is. We really need to dig deeper, and instead of seeing each other as competition, but really work together. That's my quick comment.
Thank you so much, Helen. I just, as guest privilege, and I will get to you, Dr. Tatum and Sarah. Dr. Sullivan, did you have a response?
Yes, I just wanted to comment that one of the major goals we're focused on at the South Central TCTAC is building partnerships. And so, as mentioned by Pastor Martin, it's really focused on building technical expertise in areas that communities need. So one of the things we found in terms of it's not taking down silos, it's leveraging the expertise within those silos for the broader good. So we're actually building, for lack of a better term, rapid response teams to work with communities on their grant opportunities or trying to get them to the next level. So we're pulling on resources from universities, from nonprofits, from the national labs. And we're finding that sometimes they just need an economic development study. They may need an economic feasibility study. They may need a engineering feed study to get to the next stage to even find out if their projects are viable. And we're finding a lot of pro bono resources within these silos of technical subject matter experts. And so leveraging that level of expertise, we found, we've been able to move 5 proposals forward so far with different communities by bringing in technical expertise, and the philanthropic community is coming in providing that gap funding to help get these things moving whenever we need it. So that's how we're approaching it, but we really think it's a matter of connecting people, building resources, and as was previously stated, getting people moving in a shared direction with a shared vision.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sullivan. I would like to ask everyone real quick. I'd like to negotiate for 10 to 15 minutes more time. If people have to jump off, I understand, but I'm enjoying this conversation. Do a thumbs down or look at me and shake your head no if like that's highly offensive. Okay. I am going to go to Dr. Tatum next.
Hello, everybody. Miss Jamie, I like to keep it real. Those that have been in Region 6, the meetings and everything. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm Dr. Kathy Tatum. I'm all over this city. I reside in Acres Home. I am the original member of Complete Communities. If you did not know that, that tells you a lot about silos. Complete Communities was born out of Acres Home, and every single person that was the original person that wrote that plan is not being named, not being on paperwork. And then there's a University of Complete Communities with all our work all around this city. Not one person that wrote that got any funding. So when you're talking about silos, I do domestic violence, human trafficking, and saw red earlier today because I went into one of my property management and there's trash everywhere. And her exact words was, "It's just trash. Why are you upset?" Yeah, I saw red. Just say, yeah, it's going to be some stuff. But the fact that people, when you say separation, and my people right now, I canceled my flight to Washington, D.C. They're there talking about violence interrupters, right? Because $50 million is going into the community. So every time there is a grant, when one of the individuals saying, why do we not want to share in the new terms of, grants is BIPOC, us, why do we not want to share? Because every day we Black and brown people see our work and we're never included with the grant. I'm tired of being the liaison. We as the people do see that on the grant, because we're all studying and have these technical centers in the community, we know that you're doing surveys to give us $30 gift card because it's part of the grant. We know you're taking our picture and not coming back. I'm speaking up because when we're doing with cancer, it does have to do with the environment. So if I have somebody with cancer and their intimate partner is beating them up and they got cancer because they're in an environment that caused cancer, and now their intimate partner is now keeping their medication, it's all included. When we're talking about the homeless and it looks bad, I go into these meetings, they're like, oh, that's domestic violence. Oh, that's human trafficking. Oh, that's crime. It's all about the environment. I could not tell you how many people have sitting in jail right now because they robbed a CVS because their grandmother has cancer. But all we saw was, oh, that's reentry. So when we're talking about inclusion and technical centers, why, when y'all get a grant, you got a building, but 99% of the Black and brown people, we got to rent a multi-center and we get kicked out at 6 o'clock, but we're working out of our garage. So if you're going to share the wealth, right now I'm revamping a shopping center for victim services, technical center. Ain't nobody help me. I'm writing these grants myself. I'm looking at 2 acres and Acres Home to bring a community garden. Jaime follows me. I'm busting my butt. And everybody says our community doesn't want to come to meetings. That's because we stay silent because no one is really saying the things. Our ideas get stolen real quick. And the big companies get millions and try to make us liaisons for $400, $500. Let's speak up for everybody. Let's do more. Okay. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was beautiful. And I love it. Every single word, all of it. Please, if we could connect, we have multiple different intersections here between our committees. And in whatever way you feel comfortable and want to be supported in, I understand not having well, I understand in my own way the best I can. I'll say that. So I'm going to move on to Sarah. She's still here? Did I lose her?
No, I am here. Hello, friends.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
from, my name is Sarah, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm the senior community organizer at Woody Juntos. Woody in Korean means we or us, and Juntos in Spanish means together. Our base is typically in the heart of Koreatown, but we help all Asians and all immigrants in Texas. We do this in a number of ways through base building, organizing and advocacy, civic engagement. I help co-lead our climate justice policy platform issues. And we are also a part of a few coalition ecosystems is what I call them. Houston in Action, Houston Leads. This allows us to sit on tables and share funding. That's how we essentially address any silos so that there's no overlap or duplication of work. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is one of the things that's really important to us is how we are being equitable at every level of change, and how we challenge systems. And so we do believe in a lot of solidarity building. Most recently, we discuss a lot of the times that we have to go beyond intersectionality and learn how we're continuously building solidarity between communities. Most recently, we held a food drive in Spring Branch because it's a food desert and is not considered a zip code that is food insecure. Only receives certain resources in other areas surrounding us, but we were able to bring in a lot of undocumented marginalized communities. We also hire multilingual, multinational, marginalized folks to impacted people. And at our core, our theory of change is we should put impacted community members at the forefront of any change making. So they should be the ones to lead us into the best solutions, because they typically are the ones that have the best solutions to the problems that exist, and always from a place of support, never a place of pain. So just wanted to say thank you for including us, Jamie. We are putting on an event with Stop TX Dot in May, and Sear and Airlines. We're really excited. It's going to talk about freeway expansion. It's going to be in Spanish, English, and Korean. So if anybody's interested in learning more about the work we're doing, please connect.
Thank you so much. And I know you have to run again. There's multiple people. I would definitely suggest that you and Helen connect. I would like to connect with you and again, see how we can support you in the ways you're comfortable with and want. And we've got to catch up on some other stuff. Do I have any other questions or comments from anybody? Do not see any hands. People might be tired. If you have any events or flyers or things, you can feel free to post them in the chat. You can also email them to us at HoustonClimateMovement@gmail.com. And I will type that in the chat. Does anybody have any burning questions, comments, anything?
Just the one.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. I haven't had copied the chat or anything. Do you going to hook us up with everybody's information on here tonight, or do we need to try to do that ourselves?
No, we will.
You're the best. You're the best.
Thank you. And I want to just give one last chance to our panelists, Dr. Sullivan, Daniella, Genesis. Do any of you have any final words you'd like to share?
I would just like to thank you for the opportunity to join your meeting. I've been working with several groups in the Houston area, and so I'm becoming more familiar with some of the concerns that have been expressed this evening and the challenges and opportunities ahead. So I look forward to working with you in the future. We are going to be rolling out some of our programs, and I will get those to Jamie, and she can send them to the group. And I hope you'll participate in some of them. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just really appreciate your openness and willingness to meet with us and be here. I think you're great. So I'm a fan. Genesis, do you have anything?
Yes, I put my hand raised just so folks can see. I think this is an important conversation to continue, right? And I challenge us to keep continuing this conversation in the spaces that we're part of, and the importance of that intersectionality, right? Because when our communities go into spaces, they're not just, this one dimensional person. They have so many experiences that inform how they navigate the world. So it's very important to continue that so that we can see, the truth and the humanity in our community, because sometimes we tend to just pigeonhole or silo folks and if you're doing immigration, that's what you're doing only. If you're doing environmental, that's what you're doing only. But in reality, we all have various experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Genesis. Thank you to our speakers. So just so you know, there Our slides from Dr. Sullivan with a lot of helpful information, slides from Pastor Deb, and slides from Juan Mancias, who couldn't be here, that I'll send out with the notes. And within the next couple of days, it is Earth Week, so bear with me. And again, email us Houston Climate Movement at gmail.com if you're interested in the seed bombing or the extinction parade, or just want to have a conversation about anything else. David, I see you unmuting. Did you have a quick comment or anything you wanted to say?
Yes, thank you. I met Jaime. She was a Texas Southern in a speech. I was there at the time for FEMA. It was a FEMA event, and I heard her speak, and I said, I need to have you in my class that I teach at Tulane, and she didn't disappoint. She said, I just need you to do the exact same speech that you gave here to give to my class. I want to tell you all, because I know when you're sort of down at the where the rubber meets the road, at the neighborhood level, at the street level, it's hard to zoom out. But I'm going to tell you, Houston is not only just the fourth largest city in the United States, and it's a leader. And you are light years ahead of others. And as frustrating as it may seem, but this right here, I wish it was recorded, and I wish I could just take it to my class and say, this is how you run a board of directors meeting. This is exactly, how you can get so much fed, so much done. And I've picked up a lot of things today. I'm going to tell you, BRIC, if you don't know what BRIC is, Google it. BRIC, FEMA, the Building Resilience Infrastructure and Community, some of you do. If you don't know what CDRZ is, CDRZ, Community Disaster Resilience Zone, Google that as well. Because there are many communities throughout the United States, and particularly Texas, and in particular Houston, qualify for this. And I'm going to tell you that most people tend to look at, in the academic world, they tend to look at NIH, National Institute of Health, and National Science Foundation. But there are 430 some odd federal agencies out there that have a mantra to make communities whole. A lot of the things that you're probably working on that perhaps you feel like you've done all this work to build a community profile, and then you apply for a single grant and it didn't pan out. There are so many. I have access to 10,000 line items. It isn't possible. There aren't enough people to write these grants, but a lot of you have already done a lot of the legwork. It's just encouraging to see at this level the commitment, and having worked just in the last year and a half in Alaska, Montana, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Florida, Mississippi, a few other places. Really, it's really impressive what you all have done here up to this stage. But I would expect that from the fourth largest city in the United States, LA, New York, Chicago, then Houston. You all lead in the South, whether you realize it or not. So thank you, Jaime, for the invitation.
Thank you. We're also the most diverse city, home to the most diverse county, Fort Bend, and home to the most diverse area by, area, which is Gulfton, which somebody brought up earlier, which is a very tiny, like triangular space of neighborhood in Southwest Houston that has a lot of apartments that were specifically purchased. I don't know if they were already built, specifically purchased for immigrants as they come into the country. So it's just you can get anything to eat in Southwest Houston, which is where I grew up. I love it. So I also I just want to say thank you. And so as we leave, what we like to do is just say one word of how you feel leaving this call. I'll go ahead and start some here, and I will say just grateful, honored. Dr. Sullivan.
Inspired and hopeful.
Helen.
Happy.
Thank you. I'm calling him as I see him on the screen. Deb.
Renewed.
Nice. Paul. It's good to see you, Paul. You're on mute. Okay, we'll come back to you. Herman?
Ready.
Nice. David?
Me? No.
Yes. You, David.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. That's a draft.
Oh, no. What's one word of how you feel leaving this call?
Oh, I'm, with a big smile, but I'm encouraged.
Nice. All right, Paul, you had a chance to unmute?
I think I figured it out. Yeah, happy and relieved to see how many of us there are. Wonderful.
Yes, that's what we're doing. We're building a web. A web. You know, if you are if you're a whatever the people, MS is silly with words. Tightrope performer, right? And you fall, there's a net to catch you. So, Genesis.
Resilient.
Thank you, Liz. Liz, good to see you. Liz, you're on mute. You want to give us one word?
Hey, I feel very encouraged.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. Daniela? Danny, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I feel motivated as well.
Awesome. My friend Tamika.
Hey there, Jamie. I feel grateful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. Dr. Tatum.
Collaborative.
Nice. Nigel.
Enlightened.
Enlightened. And I hope we get to connect so I can hear more about you, Nigel, and see how we can support you or collaborate.
Definitely. I'll drop my email in chat.
Awesome. Thank you. Martin.
Moved.
Deja Nick. Deja Nick.
I feel very informed because I'm new here, so I feel very informed. Yeah, that's a good word, yeah.
Well, thank you. And I'll reach out to y'all too when following up on Genesis Point. If I do think this is a conversation that gets to continue and what and how that looks like. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for staying late. This is such an important conversation. I'm walking away with new perspective for sure, and new knowledge for sure. So let's